as his Savior. And through God's leading, he later became a Seventh-day Adventist. He came to Newbold to take theology, but he was dismayed with the liberal atmosphere of the college. Somehow we became acquainted, and he was delighted that we were conservative. More than once he told us that we kept him from becoming entirely discouraged. At the end of his first year at Newbold, he left. During many of the following years, he worked with Muslim refugees who came to Europe. Later, we learned that he worked with Amazing Discoveries. Then we lost track of him. But last summer, we were at Pastor Ron Kelly's in Berrien Springs, visiting his mother-in-law, who's a good friend of ours. And while there, my husband saw a publication from ASAP, or ASAP as I call it, with Shabazz's picture on the front cover. ASAP's head office is in Berrien Springs, and one of the financial workers there is a former accounting student of Chuck's from Newbold. We asked her for Shabazz's address, but because of privacy rules, she couldn't give it to us. Being from Ouachita Hills College, Chuck knew that we had lots of current and former students in Texas, where Shabazz was supposed to be working, so he asked one or two of them if they knew him, and they did not. But K-Pa heard that he was looking for Shabazz and texted him that he knew where he was and gave him his phone number. He called Shabazz and learned that he lived in Washington, where we had just been. This year, just before we went out west, we called him and learned that he was leaving for Turkey 2 days before we would arrive in his area and return 2 days after we would leave. But someday we hope to meet him again.
I used to do a lot of lay preaching in the churches around. One of them was the SDA church in Oxford. There, Janet and I made the acquaintance of a young man, Justice, from Tanzania, who was attending Oxford University to be trained to be an ambassador for Tanzania. He was a most interesting fellow.
I was one of the Sabbath school superintendents in the Newbold College Church, so I invited Justice to come for a weekend and tell in Sabbath school how he was chosen to study to become an ambassador. He electrified our congregation with his opening sentence by telling them that he is one of 51 children and that his father had 13 wives. He was one of 7 children born to the first wife, which put him in a privileged position. With so many children, the father never knew where all of them were going to school at any given time. Justice was unusually bright, and after finishing college, applied for a scholarship in the training to become an ambassador. To show you how bright he is, there were 6 places
Up the steps of the church, an African gentleman spoke to me saying, "I know you." It was Justice. He was now an ambassador to Egypt for Tanzania. Later, we had the privilege of having a visit and a meal with him and his family at his official residence.
While in Egypt, we had the opportunity to visit the homes of some of our students.